Welcome to the Two Literal Podcast, where we're talking all things fantasy, romantasy, romance, and dark romance books. It could be the latest releases, timeless classics, book news, and anything in between. So grab a drink, some snacks, maybe a book, and if we're live, a phone to call in, because Two Literal is on. Welcome back to the Two Literal Podcast. I am Ricki, and this is Tashee.
Hi.
And we have our guest Jazzy here with us once again. I super enjoyed having you, Jazz. I don't know if I've said that out loud, but I actually have, because getting the first reaction to everything is priceless to me. And you know, you're one of the, I won't say few people, but you're one of the people that we've recommended this book to that actually stuck with it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
I like it. I love being here. I was telling Tashee it's really fun. I like it.
Yeah.
She was like, I was nervous. I was like, we're just going to talk about the book like we do anyway. And she was like,
we do it anyway. Yeah.
I could do that.
And that's kind of how this came about. There are obviously books that me and Tashee read that the other one doesn't, or that we have to fight the other person to do.
Yeah.
But this one and some of the other ones that we've read, I mean, we talk about it almost on a daily basis anyway. So it's like, we may as well do this for everybody to hear and join in.
And also, I feel like it's kind of cool because I read Zodiac Academy first. Like, so I didn't really have anybody to talk to him about. So I was excited when Ricki read them and she was talking to me about them. But also, I know it's probably exciting for you, Jazz, to have somebody like who already knows what's happening kind of talk to you about it. And like, I try really hard not to give you clues. I really try.
See, and I know that's what bothers me because I'm like, I know you know, so just like let me know.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you don't, because like then I could find out and then I like text you and be like, yo, what? Yeah.
Like when Ryder died, oh, you should have saw. She was like, "Is Ryder dead? Is Ryder dead?" I was like,
literally wanted to cry.
But Jazz, so before you started reading the Solaria series, what were you reading before that? Was there a specific genre, or this is new to you?
I read what Tashee tells me to read.
Okay.
So before that, it was which one was that?
Butcher and Blackbird.
No, it wasn't that one. It was before that. It was with
Society of Psychos.
Society of Psychos.
I don't think you read that one, Ricki, but like that was her introduction into the sisters.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
Before, well, I won't say before Zodiac Academy, because how I actually got into fiction books, period, were actually reading those short stories like on Facebook. I was like, oh. And then I ended up like buying all, because you know you have to buy per chapter in some of those. And I was like, let me go find some actual books so I don't have to keep buying per chapter. And then shortly after that, you know, Tashee introduced me to Solaria. So
from what we initially were talking about, I mean, Ricki and I have known each other since high school. So like we have random interactions anyway. But like what like solidified our friendship, like how we got to books is kind of crazy. Like just, you know, like the from what we started to what we went to like just. I don't even know how I was like, hey, go read Zodiac Academy. Like, how did that even? I have no idea how that came about.
I do want to say, but I don't want to say.
Yeah, you know, like that's why I'm like
yeah. I'm just gonna say it because are you comfortable?
YOLO.
So obviously we've been friends adjacent since high school. You know, we've been cool with each other. We didn't have like an intimate friend relationship. And what I mean by that is we didn't know really what was going on in each other's lives or anything like that. But at some point, I think it was was it your group or was it somebody else's group that came out and we were having very intimate conversations about.
Once upon a time, Jazz, I had a Facebook group dedicated to questions. I had a job that was super boring. So I entertained myself by asking people questions because things that you think are like super normal and everybody does, they do not do. So like just asking questions. I made a group just asking questions. And a lot of things came out of the group. Okay. Like we're just going to kind of leave it there.
Yeah. One thing led to another. And me and Tashee would literally go back and forth like rating sex toys.
What?
And I think
have you heard of this? Like, have you heard? Did you see?
Like this one was amazing.
That's hilarious.
So I don't know how that got to, you know, where we are now, what we're reading. I mean, obviously it's on point with what we read, but I don't know how those conversations led to as close as we are now, and also, into the same types of things. But yeah.
And just to clarify, just because we have an intimate friendship now doesn't mean we have an intimate friendship now.
Yeah, no.
It's more about ratings and reading, okay? Ratings and reading.
Noted. Honestly, that's hilarious. I love that story.
Yeah, that's very funny. But I was very much so. So before I started getting into the Facebook ones, I was a nonfiction reader. I was more into like self-help type stuff, and now I couldn't even imagine. Like, I don't know what I was going through at the time.
I've never. I remember my dad used to give me that book where it was like, what is it? I don't know, 7 steps to something or another or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I read that first page, I know at least 15 times, and it never stuck. Matter of fact, I do sales now for work. My dad was telling me, you should read a sales book. And I said, can you give me a pamphlet? I can't do it, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't stick like that. I need the high notes, spark note me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
same.
Now you guys know the Ricki and Tashee lore.
And here we are. So speaking of reading, I don't have anything huge that I did just finish Goldfinch. I don't have anything else that I'm really and Goldfinch was the end of this series, and I actually did really like it. I do feel like I have some questions, but that seems to be my anytime I finish the series, like there's so much that I want to explore there, but I did like, how some of the storylines finished out.
I'm not finished with that one yet, but I have a friend that reads similar books at work because, I don't know if you guys use like Slack or Teams or whatever, but how they make groups for people to do stuff. We have like a book one, and I met like my book bestie at work, and she reads a lot of this, and she just told me she finished it. She told me she had questions too, Ricki. It was after you had told me. So I think that's a general consensus there about that one. Jazz, you should totally read that at some point, not anytime soon because this is your life now. But The Plated Prisoner is really good.
Okay.
Slade might be one of my top favorite people.
Yeah.
Actually, I think my favorite male characters are actually from dark romances than fantasy.
That tracks. I feel like there were a lot of storylines that we saw wrapped up, but then there were so many others that we didn't see wrapped up in it. I'm interested to see when you're finished with it, what you will think of the ending of everything. I seem like she left it open so that there is more to explore in a separate series, but about another character, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that. So kind of like a spin-off situation.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited to get done. I told you, especially as we've been reading Zodiac Academy, I've been having to do dark romances just to kind of like wipe the palette a little bit, because this is like my third reread of Zodiac Academy in like 2 years, and that's a little too much for me. Like if we didn't do the podcast and we weren't going over stuff, I would find the specific book that I wanted to read and read it. Instead of doing like everything from the beginning.
All of it. Yeah.
So one of my favorite series of all time is the Georgina Kincaid series by Rochelle Mead. And I kind of try to go like a year or two without reading it. So when I do read it, it's like, oh, I forgot all about that. Oh, and that ties into that. Like, so, and I don't typically do even all the books back to back, like kind of how we, like if it's a new series, you're like, I gotta read everything that's happening. I don't do that. I typically like read one and then it'll be a month or two later, read the next one, that kind of thing. So
gotcha.
I love this series, right? But like this is a lot right now to get through sometimes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But it makes it easier to have like, I so appreciate you guys. It makes it easier to do it when you have people to talk through about stuff, because now when you guys like mention something, I kind of look for it or to see like how your thoughts like could be furthered by something that's happening in the series.
Yeah. I am excited to. This is just my first reread of these, so I'm excited to, like I said, not only see my perspective. Tashee, you and I have obviously already talked about a lot of this stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that you don't get in the first read around that I'm just now seeing again. So, and then we have Jazz here doing it with us, so I'm excited about that.
And I feel like I'm swaying you about my opinion about Darcy, and I feel like I inadvertently swayed Jazz that way too.
Kind of. I don't know. I still like Darcy. Sometimes she can come in.
But I think it's fair to say, especially for me, because this happened with Feyre too. I'm a person who critiques harder on the second like iteration of reading of a character as things are happening, because I feel like I see the long-term effects a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or already
Because
know
we
them.
know what's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So I think I critique
No, I get
harder
that.
that way. But also I saw a thing, I sent it to you the other day, Ricki, but I don't know if you looked at it, where they were saying like especially with Akatar, as you read the series further along and it shifts at the end there to that other character's perspective, that you kind of see that the whoever the narrator is at the time in the story is biased.
Yeah.
So like how they're viewing everybody and experiencing everything, they might not be telling you the truth. Not because they're lying, but because perspective is reality.
It's just from their perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, very much that. But yeah, so I'm trying to be like gracious towards Darcy. She's making it, I mean, she's not doing anything. Her events are making it hard for me, but I try to give her what I can when I can.
But okay, let's talk about it, because the grace that you give Nesta and the grace that you do not give Darcy, I don't understand. I can't make you understand it, but I can't. Jazz, I don't assume that you've read Akatar yet.
I don't know this one.
But yeah, we're gonna have to get there because we need to talk about it.
Honestly, once Jazz reads more stories that we read, we can honestly compare a lot of FMCs, because a lot of FMCs have a lot going on. Because like you probably put a pin in this now, but you were reading from Blood and Ash, right?
Yes. I haven't picked up the ones that just came out, and then I didn't read the prequel series yet. Yes.
I can't wait till you do. I can't wait till we can have like a FMC Ultimate Showdown so we can talk about everybody.
We need to have that as like a full episode.
Yeah, like that would be dope. Because I mean, you know, somebody who I thought was going to get on my nerves, but I actually quite enjoy them for the most part, even though sometimes I'm like, girl, I'm sick of being in your head. Violet from Fourth Wing, love Violet. Yeah. She's not an annoying FMC. It's just I don't always want to be in her head. Like, you know, like I just want to get, she's cool, but can I get like Zayda's perspective? Yeah. You know, like you cool, but like I want to see what he thinking too. but yeah, so I'm happy to one day go over the FMCs with you. That would be exciting. Jazz,
you know, the more I think about that, the more, I guess because we read so many that it is some form of a romance. But I haven't read a book where it was all of one gender involved. Like, obviously we see same gender relationships or same-sex relationships, but I don't think I've ever read a book where it was like, we don't have a main female character or a main male character, you know?
Mostly everything that I read is the relationship is like the main story. So I don't think I've had anything like that either. Yeah, I can't think of anything like that.
That would be interesting. So for this week, we are going over Zodiac Academy. It's a third book called The Reckoning. And the reason that it's called that is because that's what we've been leading up to this whole time. So up until now, the heirs are trying to stop the twins from passing the Reckoning, which is basically like their final for their first year of college. Or at least that's what I take. Or maybe first semester. At least that's what I take from it. Is that what you kind of get? Yeah. But
I mean, not to like spoil anything, but they are going to have that like Christmas situation come up at some point too. So I think we're still at the like, I think this is solidifying that you get to stay in the school. So I'm thinking first semester type situation too.
Yeah. And you know, there are some colleges that make you take like, not even like pick a major until your second semester or second year of college. And that's kind of what I see this as. Like, you have to pass this part before you're able to get to everything else. So this book is leading up to when they're going to have to take the test of each element that they possess, which in the twins, you know, that's all four of them. And we see them go through, I know you guys mentioned Hell Week last time. So we see them go through Hell Week where the upper class people basically put them through their own test or through their own like hazing situation for the week leading up to or the week of all of their reckoning exams, which to me, I mean, I understand, especially, you know, actually on a college campus. I've seen hazing in some way, shape, or form. But for them to deal with it and knowing that they have to use their powers to defend themselves or to hide or whatever they're going to do, and then also have to pass these exams, like
After a nymph attack.
yeah, right after they had to like fight for their lives and deal with losing people, even if they didn't, die themselves. It's
or
like
watching people
chaos.
die, because I feel like Darcy kind of said in the previous book that it was like a big deal that she saw Ashanti's dead body there.
Yeah.
But I mean, because last time she saw Ashanti, she was, busy, occupied, if you will.
Yeah.
And then she sees her dead there. So I think it's a lot of process, and especially for Tori and Darcy, because again, everything is new. Like everything is new. And I think in their head, they're like, we're going to go to school, we're going to go get this money, and we're going to go home. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have a couple of extra powers. That's dope. But now it's more real, like with, the danger involved.
And just the things that they're continuously put through. I personally have the opinion that Hell Week for them wasn't as bad as some of the stuff that they have already dealt with leading up to it. So maybe it wasn't as intense.
Tori said that at the beginning
like
when they kind of mentioned that it was going to be Hell Week, when they got the notification and everything. She was like, that's another week for us. But I mean, the stuff like even Tori or Darcy sleeps at Tori's house when they come back from the nymph attack. And that's when they get like whatever drawn on their head, because Sophia has it too. And she lives in his house or whatever. Like, way better than your clothes being burnt off and your naked body being posted on the internet or
drowning.
Almost drowning.
I almost went too far. Isn't this, maybe it was last book, but didn't Seth pee on Tori?
I think that
was book 2.
Really?
Is it this book? Okay.
No. I was about to say, like, of all the other
not only him and his pack at the time.
Him and his pack. Like, please write something on my head that you think I can't get off, but I do with this hell over peeing on me or turning me into like some swamp creature situation like they did with Darcy, or drowning me and then icing the water. I much rather.
This stuff to me was very mild, and even
the diet
a lot of the other
the diet.
But I do think it's cute that they still try to do it, even though they like worship these girls,
Oh, and because of how heroic Tori and Darcy were, they actually got more followers at the Ass Club now.
They did.
They got like 100 more followers. And I want to say, they didn't just get followers. Tyler has officially put his mom on their campaign to combat Gus Belpecula. That is a mouthful of a name, Belpecula.
Yeah. And now Tyler and Sophia are a thing in this book, which I think is cute. I like them together.
And I didn't start off liking Tyler, but by the time he actually starts the thing with Sophia, I think I did kind of. I mean, he's still annoying, but not in the way that I don't want him to succeed,
Yeah. It's like, okay, grow up. It's very much in the like little brother grow up please type of way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but also I think Darius asks Sophia for help, even though we've already kind of noted that she is not like high on the totem pole. Any other time she would be looked over, but it's really her standing up to Darius, I guess you can say, for lack of a better term, that makes him be like,
okay,
look for me.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the circumstances in which he does ask Sophia for help, because he does so after basically not saving Tori, but taking care of her, while she was super drunk and stuff. And I know that we saw part of their relationship budding in book 2, but I don't think that they've actually, until maybe the nymph attack when Tori had to save him, I don't think they've admitted that they actually care about each other in some way, shape, or form. And I like that Sophia called out, like, there's something else to you. You're not this mean person that, everybody thinks that you are. And that's how, he ends up asking her for help with his cousin.
She's introspective in a good way. But I think she kind of does. I think Sophia, in my opinion, is good very much in like navigating relationships with everybody. Like there's never once throughout the whole series, and again, I don't feel like this is a spoiler, where she was somebody that I was like suspicious of after like the first few chapters. You know, like at first it was like, dang, they got beat up. I read too much fantasy. I be waiting for everybody to betray somebody, you know?
Yeah.
But like after like a few chapters, it just felt like, oh, she's a good character. You feel like she's just a good character. There was never a time where it was like you didn't trust her judgment or you know, something like that. Or she was being fooled like everybody else if it was something where like she made a bad pick. Everybody did. So like I feel like she was really good. But also I think that might be the benefit of not being as powerful as everybody else, because you get to see them from, they are people that are in place to be rulers. So they have to be very observational of everybody around them. But if you're coming from the side of like being ruled by, you get to, you know, judge the rulers. Like, oh, you're probably going to be a good leader. You're not going to be a good leader, because you know what it looks like, especially when you're lower on the totem pole. So I feel like that's a lot of what Sophia offers to the story.
Yeah.
What do you think of Sophia, Jazz?
I like Sophia. She's a great friend to the twins. I like her relationship with Tyler. I'm glad that she was like, she figured out like Diego wasn't making a move, so she was like, let me just go for Tyler. And I like that for her. I like that she's always like giving them like little random like spells that are like super helpful. Like when they were in the cafeteria or the orb, whatever. When they were in the orb and like and they were drunk, like she had the spell that like, you know, hit them. And then she's always just super helpful and like gives us cute little tricks and tips. And I think she's very much a light to the story when there's always so much craziness going on.
Yeah. Or even like when they were helping build their mental shields and she just had Tori like, she could have had Tori doing all types of crazy stuff, and like she just had her marking her arm. Yeah. Every time she made a mistake. And Tori had like 9 marks. Like, Tori girl, come on now.
Yeah.
I love how petty Sophia is though, because you remember it was actually Sophia's idea to have Caleb in the Pegasus toy and like all that stuff and start the rumor in the first place.
I was about to say, I think it's her covert access to power. Like, tell you what to do. Like, can't do it, but like if
I feel like these are things if she could,
I could.
I love that.
And I also like she has like more background. So like if somebody came off orderist about something, you know what? They don't like our order. Because I mean, even Darius was talking about he's a low, you know, like when he was asking for Philip's help, he kind of insinuated that like Pegasus suck. And she was like, what were you gonna say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my opinion of Diego has very much changed in this book. Right where I'm starting. I think I've told you my prediction that he already liked Darcy. I think I told you that. And I was like, does he like Sophie or does he like Darcy? And then it was like confirmed in this book. And then when Orion and Darcy and Diego were all in like the mailroom or whatever, and Orion like was like making fun of Diego. He was like, I'm Diego, and in this journal entry, blah blah blah, I have a crush on Darcy. I was like, oh, I knew it, right? And then we fast forward some more, and they're at the fair, the fairy fair. Yeah, at the fairy fair. And they went together because Darcy was supposed to get some information, and then he ends up calling her a whore like her sister because she has a crush on Orion. And I was like, oh, wow. That was crazy. And then he kissed her, even crazier.
Yeah. I will say though that there was a time, and I want to say this is actually in book 2, where like he held her hand randomly. It was like little stuff here and there, but he's not an out there type of person. And so for him to randomly, that is an ick of mine. Not that you need to ask my permission, but at least know what I'm gonna do. Don't just come from my lips, you know. And I feel like he very much so did that.
I think I'm not disagreeing with it being an ick, just like perspective wise. I don't think he's good at navigating any. Like situation where he has a lot of emotion, just between like how he handled Orion taking his beanie and just like Orion saying stuff to him. I think he's a person who, especially since he said like his family is not the type of family, his abuela is the only person that like really loved him, and he's family with everybody else, but they don't treat him like family. He's already kind of like told that like he's not really allowed to have emotions. So I think he kind of just goes for it when he takes a risk, because it's going to take him forever to take the risk to begin with. You know, like, and unfortunately, he wasn't reading the room. You know, but also, when we go back to Nebula allies, you know, like, I think it's important to note that like you could mistake the interactions that you're having with somebody, because Tori, when it comes to, well, not Tori, Darcy and Sophia and Diego, the way they interact, those people are genuinely nice to each other. You know what I'm saying? And from what Diego has said, I don't think that that's what he experiences of people, especially from Sophia and Tori. I'm sorry, Sophia and Darcy.
I do think that that's sad in that some people feel like when you're genuinely, because I used to be accused of being a flirt with everybody, but I just genuinely was nice and wanted to care and wanted to nurture everybody. Like I wasn't really trying to like, and I've told my husband this, there are certain things I had to change about myself because it was being perceived as me wanting more than what I really wanted. And I've lost friends that way and everything. So I feel like it's sad that in this world as well, and maybe that's just me being biased because of my experience, that you can't just be nice to a person, but whether opposite sex or not, without it being, being perceived that way.
I was gonna say they're 18, so I kind of expect it. You know what I'm saying, from them to kind of just, especially because they're still learning to navigate the Fae world. They're just, you know, like they're just being nice. Yeah, that's it. I think it's interesting that your opinion on Diego has changed. He's only friends with girls.
Like, join in or something. Talk about a girl you like. That's not Sophia.
I know, because Orion is an a-hole to everybody. He's not just an a-hole to Diego. And I think about the moment where I think it was in this book when no, that was last book, I think, when Sophia had just flown through the rainbow and they saw Orion. It was after the whole situation with possibly the nymph in it wasn't the library, one of their classrooms or something. And Sophia was like, she loves him, you know, like, even though he's an a-hole to everybody, but like, she sees this little crush and she just thinks it's funny that she has a crush, where Diego was like pissed off about it, you know?
I think he takes it personal that that like, I'm being picked on and you like him?
Yeah.
Like
but everybody's being picked on by everybody, you know?
Yeah, like they're being picked on too. So back to Darius and Tori and their little, because Sophia obviously pushed us somewhere else, but like Darius and Tori sleeping together but not sleeping together, you know, like snoring together, not smashing together.
He said that she woke up feeling safe in his arms and like she belonged there, like it was at home, and like that's just like another step in the relationship, you know, for me. I think like, whoa.
And then like, and then she realized who it was like, immediately, no, absolutely not to the guy who tried to drown me.
But then like those feelings like still kept coming back throughout the book. Like, why did I feel safe with him? Like, why maybe I like when they, never mind, that's jumping ahead, but like when she just was like, he offered her once to like stay again, and she was like considering it, like, should I stay again? Like, she's like, no, like, why do I want to?
And also, I would like to flag a play about this in particular. When she was siren spelled and she had to kiss Max, remember this? She is not as adverse to Max as she is to Darius, but I also think it's because she's more attracted to Darius. Like, it's like Max is hot, but I could kiss him and never think about him again. But Darius, like, he could be the love of my life. I got to stay away from him because you know, like I gotta.
But I think those are the more dangerous connections. Like, there are some people who you could literally, I don't want to go too far, but you know, you can have those and it's nothing. But then there are some people that you really think could ruin your life, you know?
Like once you get your claws in me.
Like, I know there's no, you know, coming back from that. So it was interesting to me to see their dynamic change because, you know, you started out with the dance between her and Caleb, and then when they first went to the club in the first book, to now where, you know, they're sharing these intimate moments, from the sharing of power, then to them, you know, waking up in bed to get, not really waking up, but for her to wake up in bed with him and be surprised by it, to then what happens towards the end of the book and what could have been a situation, you know, between them. It's interesting for me to see all of that opening up, because then on the other hand, she has Caleb here, who now is admitting out loud that, you know, I really like this girl.
And he's over there on the side of Max, like, that's fine, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's cool you like me or whatever, but so,
yeah.
Like,
I feel like the fair was a big moment, that because Jazz brought up the fair when it comes to Diego, but there were other explosive moments that happened during the fair because the heirs had found out, well, Darius specifically found out that Tori was the one that set his room on fire, which opened up the fact that they're the ones that are getting this get back all around. And so first we got to talk about how he found out that that was the case in the cave and the knife and all of that.
How did I
wait, we have to dog ear that Milton was getting so much heat because Tori set him up.
Yeah.
To be the one that looked like he did all that to Darius.
He did all that.
Oh yeah.
And does Milton even have fire magic? Yeah, because he's in there.
He lives in the house. Is
it that powerful though? Because I don't ever remember him saying that, like, anything notable about his power.
No, I don't think it was that. It was all the gold that was stolen. Like a fire was started, but I think that it was just the fact that like jewels were missing. Like some stuff was melted down, yes, but like some stuff was missing. And obviously Tori had taken that because they were like, if we ever need to run, we got a stash.
We have that.
But also, she's been mailing stuff over to Milton. Hey, I just was like, she is my favorite criminal mastermind. Okay,
I do love Tori
because play the long game. And if she wouldn't have said anything in the cave, would have never came out. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go back to the cave. I just thought it was important to mention Milton.
Well, just the fact that two things happen. You know, they see that Darius and Orion are using some form of, they don't know what kind of magic, but some form of dark magic. And also the fact that Tori slits her arm with this knife that's been, because she shouldn't have had it in the first place. Why is it even on you? But I do get that she doesn't understand the pull of it and all of that. And anyway, it's revealed that they're the ones that, and I think Darius is conflicted because on one hand, he doesn't want her to die, but on the other hand, he's pissed off, you know, about the situation. So that was just, I feel like this book had a lot of big moments where we transitioned from world building to, okay, then here's the actual story and what's going on.
Yeah, I feel like the big bad was like established. Like it was probably introduced last book, but like established in this book. What other like big moments do you think? Or I guess Jazz would be a good person to like note your big moments for us. Like what is
they're all like the whole book or like because there's a lot.
I mean, you give us like 2 or 3. If you come back to some later, that's cool.
Okay. Obviously, the cave was huge. When they found out that they can't be burned by fire, and then it takes them back to their childhood during the reckoning. Obviously, that was a huge part. The eclipse, the fairy fair.
Because we started hearing about the eclipse like last book. Something big was happening because Orion told Darius like, hey, we got to get your training together. So whatever happened to my sister doesn't happen to whoever else, because they didn't know who that was supposed to happen to.
Yeah.
Also, when Darius and Tori go on a race, I think that was a pretty big moment for them.
Yeah.
And just like Tori being at the house and then having that moment with Xavier again, finding out that he was a Pegasus and like accepting him, I thought that was pretty big as well.
Yeah, because I think it's important for someone outside of the family to accept him, because 2 of the 3 people inside of the family do not accept him. So I think it was big for him to like see somebody else, because I feel like Darius doesn't count. Like, it's great that you accept me because you're my only other friend, but will anybody else?
I would argue that Darius didn't accept him, not his order. I feel like he accepts him as his brother. He loves his brother, but Darius had nothing positive to say about his order.
Yeah, that's true. But I think he was only just saying that because of his dad, and he just knew.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I was about to say. I don't think he had anything really negative to say. I think Darius is polluted by their environment. Like, nothing worse could happen here. Like, I already feel bad about leaving you here, and this is like a complication to that anyway. Because not to be like a spoiler or whatever, a lot of the ways that Darius is threatened by his father is through his brother. Yeah. You know, like, so I don't think it's necessarily negative as much as it's like, holy shit, we got a new problem. You know what I mean?
And I get that from the perspective of Darius. I'm not saying that he's a bad person for having something negative to say about it, because I do get that from his perspective. But from Xavier's perspective, when Tori finds out, this is the first time that he's actually being told positive things about his order, like, you're beautiful, you're an amazing person. You know, they had fun together at that moment. Like, those things are that's the first time he's hearing that. And I think that's a big thing for him to finally start to accept it himself, because you can't change it. I mean,
you know, like, that kind of goes back to, if you guys remember at the manor party, when Darius took her to go get food, I think one of the staff people gave her food and she said thank you, and they kind of rolled their eyes at her a little bit for it, and he was like, yeah, I don't thank people for doing their job. And she was like, ugh, like, it kind of disgusted her that that's kind of the world that they lived in, which is kind of like, not to be like too off into a tangent, but like, that makes me think about like Ruthless Boys, when they just speak about how different it is. I think we start seeing like small indicators across the series of ways that Tori and Darcy could benefit their society just because they didn't grow up rich people. You know what I mean? Just, you can see like the people in Aurora Academy or Alestria. Haha, I remembered it. Alestria would really appreciate people who know, even if it's not exactly the same, who have been in similar circumstances.
I love the racing scene. I don't know if I loved it for their relationship, but I just loved it as just a breath of fresh air throughout the book, and them just sharing a genuine something that they're interested in, you know? Mm-hmm. And then for her to also have the same type of moment with Xavier, and start to build that relationship. Obviously, Xavier's not at the academy yet, but like I said, I think that those two things were super important. But then we come off of that and find out it's like, I think that she had hope that maybe this could not be so rough anymore, and then the situation happens where he finds out that they're behind all of the like pranking or whatever.
Didn't she also do her date with Caleb this book?
Which date?
No, I think you're talking about I think you're talking about his fail of a date.
Yeah, them finding out, to me, okay, I personally don't understand why they thought that they had like quote unquote put them in their place.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they thought that when they stayed, when they did the whole thing at the football game to kind of be like, nana nana boo boo, we gonna get you. Like, I don't understand. To me, everybody's been scared of you guys. You've never had to, the kind of ridicule that they go through is like, the public is like, read this scandalous story. Nobody ever does things to you guys. So why? To me, they would have been my first suspects. Oh, I'm gonna get you because I think you.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, why is that? Why was that not the first thought? And even Caleb, when he confronted quote unquote Tori about it, you know, when he took her up to the mountain, was supposed to leave her there and try to scare her or whatever. In his mind, he was still like, well, she did say that she was gonna get her, like, get back at us for that. Like, I don't understand why, or like how Seth talked about how Darcy said you forged us instead of what you tried to do. Like, I don't, like you said, I don't know why that wasn't their first thought when all this stuff kept going on.
Back to the whole Seth thing. Darcy is his Omega. What?
Oh, yeah.
Darcy
he didn't do that. He didn't have to do that.
Right. I thought that was insane. And like, his whole pack is like, we were already mad at you because you had fleas, but now Darcy Vega is one of our amazing.
She's not even a wolf.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like,
very much. Oh, you guys, well, you know, like this past week was like October 3rd. So Mean Girls reference. They're very much like, she doesn't even go here. Like,
literally. She's not even
like, she doesn't even go here. Yeah. But like, I think it's funny how much, to me, the characters are unaware of how much further they entwine themselves as they try to break apart. You know, like we can go back to like Tori knowing Max's secret. We can go to, which I guess we never really brought up, but like Max is a bastard. I don't like that word, but what it is. And the heirs actually don't know that either. It's something he's been keeping from them. Or Seth accidentally making Darcy and Omega. Like, he didn't mean to do that. And regardless of what we think of the relationship, Caleb thinking he's falling for Tori, but also he's the only one who's like, we're probably not giving them a fair chance.
Yeah.
They, you know, like, because the reality is they're like, oh, well, other people are going to think you deserve, like, y'all probably could have been nice to me, like, renounce your crown. Day one, and they've been like, a lot of the stuff that they're doing propels the story in the direction they don't want it to go, in my opinion.
I agree.
No, I agree with that.
For sure.
It's crazy to me back to, and I don't know if this is book 2 or now, but it was crazy to me, the Max situation, knowing that she has a secret against him and he's still the one like instigating a lot of this stuff happening. Like, I could really ruin you though.
But then he helped her and was like, hey, I don't like that you have this over me. So I'm going to help you. So he helped her with like the whole
breathing underwater.
Yeah. So like that helped.
Well, he tried to do it like a wraith, a thief in the night, and just disappear after she figured it out. Don't tell
I really liked Max's point of view. Like, he had a chapter where they had actually captured a nymph. Yeah. They captured one, and it was his point of view, like from Darius and Caleb arguing about Tori to him like feeling the emotions that they were all feeling. And then when they got to and saw their parents, and when Lionel killed it, and he's like, oh, I feel that he was like, you know, excited and just very much true villain, you know, like
sadistic.
Insane.
Which always begs the question for me, what does Max's dad think? He spent all this time with him over all these years. Does he not, like, he feels emotions? And obviously, if Max is feeling it, then Lionel doesn't always keep his walls up. You know, like, he's not being that, I don't know. Yeah. So what do they think? Is it like, oh, that's just Lionel? And, you know, like, I don't know, especially since, I mean, like, this might be a little bit of a spoiler for you. That wasn't supposed to be Lionel's position. He kind of just fell into that. So it kind of concerns me that nobody ever flags the inappropriateness, because we spoke before about how when the heirs see their parents, how they interact with them, and everybody pretty much feels the love is visible. And it's not the same with Lionel and his kids. So just things to flag. Just a little bit things.
I feel like they're scared of him.
I feel so too, because I think what always confused me about how we get here in the first place is that, you know, we see the heirs being raised together. We see that they've grown up all these years together, because we even saw that back in Ruthless Boys, that they were always having to do all these things adjacent to each other. How did Lionel get to this point with all the other actual counselors, and they've grown to this point? So like, how did they not see some type of red flag in some of the stuff that he's doing? Because at this point in the book, we know that he's doing stuff with dark magic and all kind of stuff, you know, is going on. So, because we kind of hear what originally happened to Clara and things of that nature. So I agree with you, though. I think that they were either scared of him or they were scared to just blow up.
Yeah, they didn't want to stoke the flames, you know? Or something like that. Like,
and got a temper. He's crazy. Not
for sure. I also think because of how this book ends, right? Like, all the things that happen, the shadows and all that. Okay, so hear me out. Is it not very interesting that Darius was looking to beat his father in the same way his father was looking to expand power? Like, how they were kind of, especially not just even Darius, Stella and Orion too. Like, how they were basically advising them the same way with different intentions. Like, isn't that like very interesting that you can see ways they are like their parents but different.
Yeah.
It's very
And
reflective.
wasn't it in book 3 that actually Orion calls that out with Darius? Like, you're being the same thing that you're trying to be so much different than when it comes to your
After he
dad.
choked out Tori, after he choked out Tori for finding out that she was the one that stole from him, and like they flew to that island, he was like, dude, you're just like your dad right now.
Okay, so I have an ick when it comes to this. I do not like how every time they're giving Orion's perspective, especially from Darius's voice, it's always like this whisper. Why do they always make him like whisper or something?
What do you mean?
You have to go back and listen to, like, when Darius is talking, he's this big, I won't say masculine because both of them are masculine, but like this big boisterous like voice in person, but then they talk from Orion's point of view. But then they talk from Orion's point of view, and it's almost like a whisper, and like he's, I don't know. You have to listen to it on the Audible version. It drives me crazy.
Say, I actually I follow them, like the narrators. I follow them on TikTok and like talk to them sometimes, right? And that's really Orion's voice is closest to his voice. So I think it's just more one of those like comfortability things when he's reading versus like in character for everybody else. Because if you ask me, Orion and Caleb sound a whole lot alike throughout the book. It's just like a little bit.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not from when we're hearing Orion's perspective. It's when we're in somebody else's perspective, but they're telling Orion's story. Does that make sense? Like they're telling Orion's side of the conversation. That's the only time I hear it, and that is the strangest. It's just so strange to me.
It's kind of
this is unrelated but related. Ricki, I have graduated to listening to books at 2.5 point speed, almost 3.
I saw your post. And I do get it. Okay, so I listened, was it one of them I listened to at 1.5, and I will say that when I went back to regular speed, I'm like, why are they talking in slow motion? So
I was about to say it gets kind of crazy, but also I think, especially because I told you before that this like is harder for me to read as because it's so long and it's so soon in repetition for me. Part of it is like my thoughts are like that too. Like, okay, let's get to the next thing. Okay, let me note that. Like, let me note that. So like, some of it is kind of like trying to get past it. But yeah, I'm almost at 3 speed. I know that's like unrelated, but related. Just want to throw that out there.
So I want to get back to the fair because you mentioned Caleb's date. We haven't gotten to the date that you were talking about, but he did try a little bit at the fair, even after he was an a-hole with the whole mountain thing. He tried to get to know like what actually, okay, so what do you want? And she said she wanted a thrill, so he tried to give her that. You don't feel that way?
I don't know. I personally, but I know more, so I don't want to say too much. Him and Tori are playing with fire, and it's uber visible to me with the whole like hunting situation. Everybody is kind of like, because when Darcy heard about it and she told, I think it was book 2, it might have been book 3, when she told Diego and Sophia, like we've already established that Diego has conflicting emotions about stuff, but he was like, you're doing that with a vampire, and she got offended, but like that, I feel like that was one of the times Sophia didn't explain further about why that's not okay. But and we also got like a glimpse of Stella trying to do that to Darcy when they met in the manor, like, ooh, I love the hunt, let her go further next time, when she kind of took a step back and tried to leave. So like Caleb's not a novice, his whole family is vampires. This isn't something that he doesn't know about. He always justifies not hurting Tori with the incident in book 1 because she's his source, like, so it's not like I don't know. It's not like we don't know that he knows what the code is.
And like that's why his mom was like, no, come back home for the eclipse, because we know it can get crazy, and like we don't want you to kill anybody. Like that's crazy.
Oh, you know what I thought about the other day? when I was reading Orion's perspective with Darcy, I know we didn't talk about this enough last time. In book 2, he said Venus was in his chart. You guys know Libra like is ran by Venus anyway. So like the lunar eclipse plus his Venus plus like it just sounds like it's a lot of love out there.
Yeah.
Like, like you're ruled by all those loving emotions.
Literally.
Yeah.
A lot going on. This was the night that everybody had to kind of didn't Orion teach them a contraceptive spell? Because I'm sure somebody had questions about that.
He attempted, yes.
The peach and the bananas going all over the room, and then Washer teaching part of it. Crazy.
Washer is the best worst character ever. Like his phrasing for stuff, teeny weeny, like all of like
insane.
Yeah, like his. Don't be. Wait till you meet what's his name? Plunger.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in the next like after this. So that's funny.
Gabriel coming back as a teacher taking Astrom's place. I like that. I can't wait to see Mr. Knox.
Oh, I love Moxie too. I think it's funny that him and Darius have such like they very much the girl is mine about Lance. It's the funniest thing ever. Like it's not your friend, that's my friend. Like
it's gonna be hilarious. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, like
I was sad, and I think it was in book 3 when Darius talks about how he will never know for sure if Lance is a real good friend of his, like if they would actually protect each other, or if it's because of the bond that he wants to protect him. Like he would like to think that it's because they're really good friends and they care about each other. But he will never know because they're in this situation now, you know?
Yeah, and you know what? It kind of goes back to that time when Lance went home with him. And Darius was about to get whatever beating from Lionel, and Lance ended up there, and he basically was able to hold both of them while he did it. And he said something about like you could get your own beatings, you know, like Darius just kind of got quiet. Like I think it's interesting for everybody to be so aware of the bleeding that is happening because of Lionel, but nobody is like coming together to fix it outside of necessarily Orion and Darius. You know, like it's very evident of how much like sway. I don't understand Lionel's sway. He's not he doesn't feel charismatic or anything like that. Like I feel like the most dangerous people are always the charismatic people, the people that like make you
like
he doesn't do that for anybody.
Yeah.
He handles everybody roughly, including the other counselors. Like everybody is handled, you know?
Yeah.
Like with shady undertones, you know, like you wouldn't try that with me though, like you know, like that kind of stuff. Like
and even him openly cheating on his wife, and in this book we find, or one of the books we find out that he's using his wife to get, you know, deals and stuff like that. And nobody has anything to say about it. Like no blogs have been put, like nothing, you know?
Yeah. But I guess they would be scared because he is gonna take you out, you know? So
but like if we come together, he can't take us all out. So like why don't we just do that? You know? I don't know.
Maybe because he's a dragon, he'll burn you up.
But now
I'm burning up.
I don't know.
I just thought about the fact that you said he was a dragon and burning you up and stuff like that. We talked about last episode how Tori and Darcy are now displaying different forms of fire. I kind of would have been interested. I wanted to see what if they did emerge as by the end of this book they emerge as something. So that's not super spoiler, but they emerge. Their order finally comes out at literally the last second of the book.
Literally.
Literally the very end of the book. So we see that they're fine. We finally see that they're not a dragon, and that starts to happen during the eclipse because you remember their shoulder blades start to itch or whatever. So in both of their cases, they were in situations.
But Orion said it was coming soon after book 2 once they used their fire, because at first, you know, he kind of guessed they were like some extinct dragon. At the time. Jazz,
I would have been interested to see a dragon that did the red and blue fire.
One of my predictions was that Tori was going to be a dragon, and I was like, "Ooh, that would be crazy," just because of like the whole Darius thing.
Jazz, how did you feel finding out that they were phoenixes?
I love it, right? I do kind of wish that like Ricki said, I wish that she was a dragon, one of them at least. But I don't know much about the phoenixes yet, so I'm interested to find out more about like what they can do. But seeing as they like couldn't like what isn't that they couldn't be like coerced into like when Lionel was trying to be like, hey, you're gonna forget that you were here. They were like, we didn't forget, but we're not gonna tell you that, you know? I think that was cool, but like I wonder if that was like part of their Phoenix Sea stuff.
Let me tell you something funny. When I was getting ready to read this series, it was marketed as a Harry Potter for adults. Like that's how people kind of put it to me. Like a Harry Potter for adults. Do you know how upset I was that I had you guys should probably know this. I'm a spoiler person. I actually go read spoilers because it still doesn't tell me how the story is gonna go. I wouldn't suggest you do that, Jess. Don't you be like me, be better than me. But well, when that happened, I was very upset with myself for not immediately being like, of course their order is gonna be phoenixes because you know, Order of the Phoenix in Harry Potter. Like I was like, oh, duh. Like, duh. Of course they would pick that.
That's funny. Back to Ruthless Boys. Wasn't like the ring that Gabriel got, wasn't that like from Phoenixes?
It was.
And then like it had like burned all the stuff like out of him with King
the
and
dark
stuff.
coercion.
Yep. So I was like, oh, I put that together and then I was like, that was cool. Okay.
Look at you building a puzzle. I am so proud.
And I do like that they alluded to the fact that there haven't been phoenixes, there haven't been hydras, and then there was one more that was extinct. But I like that they mentioned it at some point because otherwise we would have never known this was even a, you know, if you have not read Ruthless Boys, you wouldn't know that this is even a possibility.
Guys.
Yeah.
When I read Neverkeep, because you know this is like still in the same world but not the same world or whatever, they have additional orders and I still don't know what they do all the way.
I know. I need to know more about these phoenixes now.
You want to know all about the
Now.
Unfortunately, they don't have mentors, so you'll be learning as the twins learn.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
You'll be learning as the twins learn.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
You know how you were saying that like you wish one of them would have been one thing or one would have been the other? Yeah. I don't think that would have worked because everything is like so power based. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that there would have been enough balance. You know, I'm a Libra. I don't think it would have been enough balance there.
Especially since they are twins and like they're always stronger together and like it's always like a
even their elements are kind of like that. One is better in two than the other is better than in those two. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I don't think them being different ones would have ever truly made sense. But I like that they have like orders that nobody really knows what.
If it's for them.
You know, like you probably can go get a book on your order if you're like a Minotaur and everybody knows that if I do this to them, they don't know things. So like even back to what you were saying about Lionel trying to dark coerce them. Oh, I said it kind of. Want him trying to do that, and he doesn't even realize that he didn't do what he thinks he did.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think that's a good thing.
I like and you mentioned this last episode, but I like that we finally get to see Geraldine and her order. We had never she's mentioned it, but we had never actually seen it or have it described to us, and I like that.
Isn't it funny that like she's like the most positive person ever, but meanwhile she has 3 heads and like a deadly poison.
Yeah.
Like,
and she eats a deadly flower and like all the like in book 2 when we hear that she's going picking flowers in the middle of the night and that's how she finds out they're burying this gold. It's like that track, she's out in the middle of the night picking flowers, but no. It's a poisonous flower that she has to eat to keep her poisoned up, so
that's hilarious.
I love that we got to see that though, and she did that subtle like threat to the heirs also.
And they backed away. They was like, nah.
Yeah.
Right. You got it.
Never mind.
Yeah.
We're good.
Right.
Yeah.
JK, guys. Just kidding.
Yeah.
And I think, I could be wrong, but I think we get to see a little bit of my homie, Philip, interacting, with his new friend, our girl, Sophia. As they
Just
grow.
barely in this book. But I'm excited to see that come and what comes of that. We just barely get the fact that they have exchanged phone numbers, which I think is awesome of Dear. I mean, obviously he cares a lot about his brother, but I thought it was awesome.
I think y'all jumped ahead.
Oh.
I have not got there.
Sorry.
Well, we'll be exploring that. They do get to because he wanted him to have somebody in his order because Darius, you know, just like I said, I think that that's one, and I don't understand it because we also see Sophia fight the nymphs, and she was pretty badass to be in her in her order form. So I don't know why they're so frowned upon. I guess just because they're perceived to be.
I'm pretty sure it's because Lionel's orderous and we are amongst rich people. Like, I don't mean that in a bad way, but you know, just very much.
I want to know what Diego's going to be.
I know. I guess he's the last person to kind of switch over.
I don't really have any.
I meant to ask you something about Diego, Jazz, because you talked about how your view of him has changed into this book. What did you feel about them helping him pass the reckoning?
Honestly, I liked it. I was like, you know, he needed it because I feel like after this book, he's going to come out more as like a little bit better, have a little bit more power. He might not. I could be completely wrong. Just it's a prediction. But no, I was glad that they did help him pass, and then he ended up passing the reckoning just barely. But like, I was glad to see that he didn't leave because I do want to know more about him, more about his uncle, why like he's connected to Lionel. Like on the night of the eclipse, they were like, Tori was like, yeah, and while you're at your house, go get Diego, so like, you know, get him out of that grumpy mood or whatever. No, but I'm glad that they did help him.
I like that the stars like weighed everybody, for lack of a better term, like you know, like their worth, because like if you were thinking, oh, somebody's like super evil, like you feel like, well, the stars aren't saying they're super evil or they're not worth being here. But also then I remind myself that Lionel was probably weighed at some point too, and then was like, you can stay. Like, you can stay. So are the stars really that great, or are they really that bad?
Speaking of the night of the eclipse, when Seth was like waiting for Darcy and was like, oh yeah, you're gonna be my person tonight. But then he saw Orion and Darcy together, and he was like, wait, he was super drunk, but he was like, wait, if he bit her, like, where's the blood at? So I was like, is that gonna come out later on? Like, are those two a thing? Like, is he gonna be the first person to find out? And if so, like, is he gonna use that to his advantage?
It's very interesting to see like things that you think in this year, like, and see how that happens, because sometimes like things that I wasn't looking for, you're looking at. Like, I'm not a person who necessarily reads and thinks like this is gonna be great or this is connected. Like, I do sometimes, but not really. I'm just like, YOLO, we're on a roller coaster. Like, you know,
and
like,
I do. I do for the most part. I'm whether I'm reading or if it's a movie or something like that. Like my siblings hate watching horror movies with me because I always know what's happening. And sometimes I've literally said it out loud, not being seen the movie before, and they're like, "You're ruining it." I'm like, "I'm not doing it on purpose." But there are things though, Jazz, that you pick up on that I did not, and that's surprising because I'm normally that person.
It's always funny to me because the only time I feel like I picked up on something but I didn't say it out loud, I don't know if you guys ever watched Behind Her Eyes, that movie. They came out as a limited edition series. I remember specifically at one point, like, this lady is sleeping with her boss and he's married, and I remember thinking like, this camera angle is so weird on this scene. It's like we're watching them, like, you know, like it's not like you're watching a movie and they're being intimate. It's like we're watching them. Like, you know, like I'm sitting in the corner, and that's very much what was happening, but you don't find that out till later.
That's creepy.
Like I just remember thinking like, why did they shoot it this way? That's weird, you know. But I didn't say it out loud. I just remember that feeling that I got, like, why are we watching them? You know what I mean? Like, not but I didn't.
One of my big ones was the orphan and predicting how old she really was, and my siblings were so upset with me. I'm like, I haven't seen it either. I was just giving a prediction, but my mind was like, wait, this doesn't make sense and that doesn't make sense, and you know, they were so upset with me. But that's how I am when I'm reading too.
Another prediction that I can't figure out, I know it's big, obviously they even mentioned it, But when the fire was burning and like the firefighters like pulled out the twins, that they saw they saw a Fae in the back, like, but then he like started it away. I'm trying to figure out who that is. I can't figure it out yet.
You can't figure it out?
No.
You don't have any
They said that this is somebody bad, but I feel like it wasn't somebody bad. I felt like it was like somebody that wanted to help them, but like didn't. So I guess that's my only prediction. I just don't think it's somebody bad.
Okay, so you're still deciding how you feel about it. Okay, I feel like that's good. Again, I think it's very interesting hearing, like,
because you're like, I know that you're wrong.
No, I mean, there are some things that you have guessed like spot on that I don't feel like were evident, and there's other things where I'm like, I didn't even notice that to guess that. Like, so
yeah,
it's connections you've made. Yeah. But I'm proud of you. Good job. Do you guys think that it was good that Orion was training Darius already on what to do prior to everything that happened to his dad? Because Darius almost fought his daddy about his not woman.
Yeah.
He got pretty close to it, but I think Tori's existence over her death, or his existence with her over his death, is always going to kind of be more important than what could happen if he lost. Or that's the kind of vibes that I get. I
don't know. I like Tori and Darius, and I'm very interested to see where else that goes. But especially with Lionel being Lionel and Tori being who she is. Like, that's another reason why I love Tori. She's always gonna say what she wants. She does not care who you are or how powerful you are. Like, she's gonna say what she wants and do what she wants.
Probably why my homegirls go through the most stuff.
Yeah, and like I think the heirs know that too. Like, they were like, I think Caleb and Darius both said that like we can say and do whatever we want to her, but she always just gets back up and like fights back, and like they know. Like,
I think that was one of the things that Caleb noted, like with his first interaction with Tori after the whole pool incident happened. Yeah. He was like, for a minute, I thought you weren't gonna, come back swinging. Even the fact that she had like a snarky remark was something that was important. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't think I have more to add. Do you guys have more questions? More to add?
So we didn't talk about the blue means you, and that's one of my favorite scenes in this book. And I'm not a lovey person, but it's one of my favorite things. And y'all actually like Darcy and Orion.
I do. They're cute.
I was thinking that, like, like blue meant a lot in this book. Like, Darcy ended up re-dyeing her hair, and then even at the fair, like
full head, not even just the
full head.
She made a statement.
Even at the fair, like, Orion had made a comment to Francesca and was like, "Hey, which Pegasus do you want? Like which stuffed animal do you want?" And she was like, "Blue." He was like, "Oh, my favorite color." Oh, that was so messy. That was
so messy. I did not like him in that moment.
So secretively messy.
That was so messy.
I think it's kind of funny that they kind of sort of like are triggered by each other, but also try to make each other jealous. Like, livid that Diego is there with Darcy, but it's a couple of times Darcy done said something about the way she talking to him make me want to hiss at her like a cat. Like, like very much my man. That's what I'm saying. Like, but she's not telling anybody that.
No.
At all.
I do wish that she could tell Tori. I'm not gonna lie. I wish that she could have she could talk to her sister about, hey, I've been doing this thing with our professor. But yeah.
Okay, so this is my opinion. This is where I begin to not like Darcy as much. I don't think she gives Tori enough credit for being as strong as she is. So she like shields her, and I get like the whole like I don't want you to get in trouble too type thing, but it doesn't feel that way because this isn't like the only time that, like, in my opinion, where Darcy, Ricki says it's important for this to happen, but like she doesn't tell her that like we need to have our own separate lives. She just kind of starts pulling away.
She just kind of starts having her own separate. I don't disagree with that part about the fact that it was never communicated.
yeah, she never communicates it, and then it's like, you're not. Why don't you want me to have my own space? But it was never communicated to begin with that like we're making a separation.
Yeah.
That's where Orion comes in, isn't it? I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I mean, I don't feel like it's Orion's fault though.
No, I blame Darcy because he's like Orion, but don't forget your sister. Ugh.
Girl, it is a
Yeah.
thing for me. Okay, me and Ricki have had this very in-depth discussion about this. It's not that she does it; it's the way she does it. I think that makes me question her character a little bit more because she's not as when forever you guys only had each other, and then like I just feel like it's important to mention to somebody, especially in my opinion, the most wounded of the two of them. They're like, hey, I need, because like we're just 3 books in of this 9-12 book series, and there's still more to come for both of them. It's interesting to see them going between needing each other still throughout the series. They still need each other multiple times, several times, but also Darcy breaking away but not saying it, in my opinion.
I don't like that because they've always talked about in the book like how everything that they've been through in their life, like their twin has always been their constant, you know, like coming to Solaria and just, you know, starting this school, bouncing from foster home to foster home and everything. Like they always had each other, you know what I'm saying? And like, or
even like when the big things happen, they're sleeping in the bed together immediately after. You know, like they're still like, oh, I need to go home, and that's home. But also, I mean, I guess we can arguably reason that Tori did say Darius felt like home. Yeah, like she did say that.
I need to read. I need to read the next book now.
So at the end of this book, we see that Tori and Darius almost have a moment, but then they get kidnapped by his dad, and then the whole situation with the shadows and like all of that happens, and their orders come out. It was just a big explosive moment, I think, at the end of the book, because you get that relationship start to unfold, but then Tori seemingly shuts that completely off because of, you know, what happened. And I think that she does still kind of relate him to his dad, because to me, even reading this time, like from a first person perspective, we don't see what comes next. But I never blamed Darius. If I would have blamed him for anything, it would have been him acting like nothing ever happened after his dad coerced them.
Like I said, I like Darius and Tori, so I would have wanted something to happen between them, just because like they couldn't like deny it anymore, you know, like they couldn't be like, oh, there's nothing between us. Like if something would have happened, then they would have been like, all right, so that happened, now what, you know? I feel like, but without like with their being kidnapped, they just couldn't have that. And I didn't blame Darius either, because he was just like, what, like, why are you here, why are you hurting us, why are you kidnapping us? And then I'm with you on that.
I think, to me, in my opinion, I feel like this should have been the wake-up call that Tori needed, kind of, sort of, that like he's not really in control of his own life. Like, you know what I mean? Like he is, I know you say like fight back, but he doesn't have the option the same way that like you as a person with no parents do, because even if you have a bad parent, often kids want to please their parents, even if they're not great parents, you know, and not to mention on a routine, Darius kind of confirms that he's dark coerced into a whole lot of stuff. You know, like can't tell people, can't do anything but other than what he's told. So, and also when we go back to Xavier, like I got people depending on me, like, you know, like, and also like, he never planned for Tori to be around. He had a different plan. Like, honestly, you're great, but like, I plan to kill him like next week, and then you came, and now my plan has to be readjusted because he's readjusting his plan too. So it is interesting in my perspective to see like what is seen as they go along and how it's responded to by both of them.
And then their orders emerge, and I feel like they were automatically like aware of what they were. And I don't even know if that's from knowledge of what a phoenix is, or if that's just something that like the stars whispered to them, or whatever the case may be. But I feel like everybody else didn't make it a big deal in that scene. Like, you know, Lionel just says, okay, well, it's done now, back to, you know, regular scheduled programming. You know, I don't feel like anybody actually made it a thing that they became something in that moment.
Well, I want to point
And
out
something that was extinct up until now. It sounds like to me that nobody even acknowledges that.
well, not to get too far ahead, but I don't feel like this is truly a spoiler. As we enter into book 4, there's confirmation that they didn't realize, nobody but the twins realized what the order they became was.
Yeah.
They associated it immediately with Harpy because that's what their mother was.
Right.
So that's something that they immediately just, oh, they're a Harpy. You know, like they didn't. I personally feel like a lot of context was, I don't know how those people are in charge and teaching and running things, because like they're Harpies, but they have fire. What Harpy has fire? You know, like I personally, but also not never to Lionel's credit, but to Lionel's credit, he did not stay and witness them use the fire. Yeah. Remember, it was just reported. So he also uses dark magic, so he might have assumed it's something like that, or they got some kind of.
Speaking of, like, since we're on that night, like the whispers that they were hearing, that was Clara, right? Like telling them to come to the shadows. I don't know. I just thought that was Clara because she's like, come to the shadows. She was like, I hear a female's voice, and she was the one that was used the first time for the eclipse. So I was like, hold on. Is Claire, my mind went somewhere crazy. I was like, yo, is Claire trying to get out? But I was like, is that even a thing? Like, it's not possible.
Well, we will not be confirming or denying anything.
There's more to come on that.
Like, you tell us what happened.
Ugh, fine.
There's more to come. But I like I said, I think this book was very much so like the not the climax, because there's multiple climaxes, but one of them for sure. I feel like we got over a hump of learning about the world and stuff like that. But this moment, I feel like, is what pushes us to the next portion of the story, and where we really see a lot of things unfolded, because we're just now learning, you know, we learned that this whole process is the very way that Clara died or disappeared or whatever you want to say about that situation. But also we learned, you know, their orders. We see relationships unfolding or dying, either one of the two. So there's a lot, I feel like, that happened in this book and in that final moment of the book that pushes us. And, you know, to your point, Jazz, when I was reading it, 4 was already out. I don't know what I would have done had I already had to wait, you know, another however long until 4 came out, because it was so much, you know, at the very end. So
I was about to say that wasn't my story either, girl. 7 books was out when I was reading. So but then I thought they were supposed to end at 8, and I'm like, yes, book 8 is coming out, and they're like, just kidding, we're going to book 9. And I was like, wait, don't kid. I don't want to do that. And then when I was waiting on 9, they were like, and we got an 8.5.
Yeah.
Like, please give me to 9.
So it keeps going.
Like, please give me to 9. But yeah, I don't think I have more to add on.
I have a question.
Okay.
One more. Okay. Why is it just because like of power? Like, why is Lionel wanting the shadows? Like, why does he want that? Like, is it just because of power? Like, he just wants to be better than everybody else? Or can you guys like not answer that yet?
We cannot answer that.
Heard.
Right. I feel like I can answer a little bit without answering too much. I mean, all Fae want power. So like, of course he wants power, but like it's more to it for sure. So we can't answer it. But I feel like Ricki said, this is the beginning of getting over the hump. I personally feel like books 1 through 3 are very much world building, and that is like unheard of for most series to have that much world building. But it is a lot of world building, establishing character, relationships, and I mean, even like, I guess you could say Easter eggs for things to come, or like a little bit of foreshadowing and foretelling of things to happen. I think I'm most excited about the introduction of extra characters at the school. Like you said, Gabriel coming into play. Xavier will be at school soon. The shadows have entered the building. Confirmation of the twins having their orders and what that means for them, and everybody else too, not just them, but like even for the kingdom, because like everybody's been like, ooh, what are y'all gonna be, blah blah blah. And I feel like, no disrespect to Seth, but like werewolf is like a very basic order, like the most basic of his friend group orders, even. he's not even a moon wolf, but whatever.
Yeah.
Or, even though he runs under the moon, but like you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't think I have more to add.
We have
That
a
was my
lot
last
coming. I feel like from here on out, there are going to be a lot of big moments. This book, I think, had more big ones than before, but moving forward, there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens, and I'm excited to get to that with everybody.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too.
I
I'm
need to
excited
read.
for you to see Jazz and get your opinions because I think it doesn't matter what I think. We'll see what you think.
I'm excited. I need to read now, ASAP. No Rocky.
And then you can go listen and see what Ricki was talking about the light voice for Lance.
It drives me crazy, y'all. I do not know why, but it just drives me crazy. But thank you again, Jazz, for joining us on this journey, and thank you for our listeners as well for joining. And just like Jazz, we want to hear everybody else's perspective because this is a big it's a big undertaking, but there's a lot that's uncovered and a lot of things that you learn and things like that. And like I said, I'm excited to see everybody's perception moving forward.
Same. I guess this is the end of our podcast. It's too literal. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell us any predictions that you have. Or, you know what? Comment on Jazz predictions. Tell us if you think she's spot on or if she's connecting dots that you didn't even think about. Go highlight your book or something. Don't forget to, I think I already said like, comment, and subscribe. But also, you can follow us on all social media. Bye.